Start record. Okay. So first, could you please state your name, where you're from, what school you go to, and your future profession?
Okay. My name is Molly McClain, and I am from Kennett, Missouri. I go to the University of Missouri, and I am hopefully wanting to continue my career in veterinary medicine.
Yes. So what kind of what kind of inspired you? Sorry, my door is. What kind of inspired you to step into like the field of veterinary and yeah.
That is a really hard question to answer, but I'll give you like my interview answer. I really enjoy learning new things, and there's always something new within veterinary medicine. And of course, I love and adore animals. We all do here. But just kind of different experiences through my life and different kind of hardships I went through with animals kind of pushed me into that, as well as shadowing Dr. Mobley and Kennett when I was young, kind of pushed me further towards that as well.
Yes, that's what I was going to kind of move into. Do you feel like where we grew up and like the culture from where you grew up kind of had to do with where you stepped into, or do you feel like it's related at all?
A little. It's kind of hard to say because I am interested in exotic animals, so you can't really
Oh yeah.
put that together because a lot of like what Dr. Mobley did was small animal and a lot of it was large animal. So food animal like cows, horses, things like that. He did a lot of, and I don't necessarily want to do that. So it's kind of hard to say that, but I would say a lot of like pushing me towards veterinary medicine has been a lot about how close knit the community is in just in that region and how big community affected my life. I do think that that is a huge community has had a huge impact on my life for sure.
Yeah, I like that. That also makes sense. Alrighty, so now we move into some more questions about your accent. So obviously you're more in like the Kaffner area, so you might have
Yeah,
different
so
experiences than like I do or Claire does in law school, with your accent. So how do you feel like have you ever noticed your accent like influencing the way that people interact with you? It can
I
be
don't know.
positive, you know.
Yeah, I haven't had like any crazy negative experiences. I do remember like when I was a freshman and back when I used to be in FAMU, I remember like my first coming here, like the first like big, I can't even think of it, when we went to like, I don't know, the big assembly we had with everybody when they came and talked to us about stuff at the very beginning of the year. I asked a question and I talked to people afterwards and they were like, "Oh yeah, I recognize you. You're the girl with the southern accent." Like out of everybody, they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember you because you did that." And just throughout like my career, I feel like I've always been like recognized as having an accent, even within um in my animal science classes. I've had people like professors say I'd talk to them and they'd be like, "Where are you from?" And then like I've been asked if I'm from like Texas, Georgia. No, no. But
Sorry.
the only time I've had like issues is like in the workforce, I feel like. And maybe that is just because it's outside of animal science and Kaffner. I've had like people say kind of a little bit like misogynistic or sexist things towards me, especially being that like there's a big kind of stigma around Southern women and like the like especially with your accent gets deeper there's kind of like even when I was like more when I was blonde it was like this whole thing then I've had kind of like sexist comments or like kind of like comments like that I would say
Uh-huh.
a lot.
I totally understand that. Whenever I first came here, I got that a lot. It felt like I felt like
Mhm.
I was really uncomfortable. Um,
Yeah.
Definitely. And do you feel like you've had any like have you ever had any well, I guess what I'm thinking of like so sometimes there will be times where I'm like interacting with someone, especially when actually I think this was most common whenever I was in a sorority. I would be interacting with people and I
Mhm.
would say I would be like talking and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, your accent is so cute. Like where are you from?" And then it would just totally
Yeah.
derail the conversation.
Oh
And
yeah.
obviously they're like good-hearted in nature and they're not meaning, but
Because
it's
it's
like
like
so
yeah that
you're just listening to how my voice sounds as opposed to what I was saying.
yeah because I mean when I asked my professor I was literally going up to ask her a question about like an assignment we were doing and she's like, "Where are you from? Can you answer my question?" Like
Exactly. Exactly.
uh,
That is frustrating. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So what aspects of like This is kind of stupid. I mean, I sound too textbooky. I'm like, okay, so where do you find like yourself using your accent like most comfortably? So obviously, or actually, I should first ask, since moving up here, have you felt like your accent has been suppressed some? And in turn, where do you feel like you let it like out more?
I don't know if it's necessarily like purposefully. I feel like it is like subconsciously, but like consciously, like you're doing it
I
because
totally,
of that. But I'm also like a bad like mimicker, so like I pick up on other people's talking to, so that kind of plays a role. But I think just being here and around so many people that don't necessarily have that accent, it just kind of does just go away. I guess that is with any accent, but it definitely does go away. I think that if I were like in a professional setting, like in like big interview, I might like try to like use very professional grammar, and that does kind of take away like a lot of that kind of southern slang is not professional. So I think maybe in that sense, I definitely can tell though if I'm ever on the phone with like my mom or my grandma, they, especially because my mom's from like Alabama, they are very like the accent is very thick, and so I'll be like I'll say ain't and all kinds of just like spewing stuff out. I feel like that, and I feel like because I hang a lot of my or my some of my close friends are from the Boot Hill, Paola, Gonzalez, like from Cena, places like that. Um, so I feel like around them, like it just comes out naturally more too, and that might be subconsciously, or it might just because they talk like it too. But I do feel in different settings, especially like scholarly, I feel like I do kind of try to tame it a little bit, I guess.
That's yeah, I totally get that. My freshman year, like whenever I came here, like I always had like professors being like,
Mhm.
I was like, and it's like it's English professors, and I was studying in that field of English and
Yeah,
speak, and we use proper grammar. But I'm glad I'm taking this class now because, like I said, it's kind of really pushed me into that celebration of like it doesn't really
yeah,
matter what we sound like; it's just about what we're saying. You know what I'm saying? It's the
yeah.
and so that's why I thought it'd be good to highlight voices like yours. Um, let's see. Do you think that having an accent gives you any like advantages or like good like new perspectives in like your studies or your social interactions?
I think. Oh, I didn't talk about this, but I can. I feel like advantage wise in mine, yes, but also not. I think that when I sound like that, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you didn't know all this stuff about cows and horses," and I'm actually don't like, and I don't. And so I think that is like I do kind of have that like maybe southern farmer kind of vibe within the College of Ag, just because that is the vibe of College of Ag. But it's not really like my it doesn't really affect me because I feel like once you hear me actually like speak, they're like, okay, no, she is not. Um, but what I forgot to say was I felt like, especially when I worked at like Home Depot, when I would talk in my accent, I felt that it made people think that they could say derogatory things to me about other people being like racist things or like
Hmm.
just misogynistic things because they think that where I'm from is that kind of stereotype, which is like completely not true. Like at all. So I feel like I've definitely seen that a lot.
I'm so glad you brought that up and you mentioned that because that is so real. Like that's so true. And it feels like we have to do everything we can to like let everybody know that we're not hateful because
Mhm. Yeah.
the way our voice sounds, like this haircut has been the best thing that ever happened to me because the blonde hair, like they were always like I was
Yes.
like
No,
Like
don't
I
say
think
that
people
to
were
me.
scared of me when I moved up here a little bit. Like
Yeah.
my peers.
Hmm.
Rightfully so, like because of the way that media portrays
Almost like
people.
intimidating. Yeah.
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 Let's see. Alrighty. Let's move in. Okay, so yeah, okay. We got a lot of great stuff.
That's perfect.
So yeah, I guess you kind of touched on a misconception. Are there any like other common misconceptions you've encountered because of your accent?
Not m- much besides that. I do kind of think when I was like blonde, there was kind of, it was more so of that just kind of like not the smartest, kind of like, I hate to say it, but very bimbo
Mm,
um, kind of vibe just because of that and just the overall, just how people spoke to me and kind of like that what they thought, especially like when I was working at Home Depot, I felt like I got a lot of that. And that just might be the customers that come into Home Depot.
The interesting demographic right there.
Yeah. Um, but mostly what I've touched on, I feel like.
Cool beans. All right. Finally, what do you think is special about having an accent, and what advice would you give to other students who might feel self-conscious about their accents?
I, I feel like it's something that sets you apart. And I know like I'm probably not the best like to talk on this because it's not like it's Southern. Like it's not, an accent that's like origins are from outside America, it's not anything like that. But I feel like it also connects me to home and it connects me to my mother, especially, which I really love because I feel like too when I'm losing it, I feel like I'm losing like part of me almost, and it makes me like really sad.
Yeah.
Um, and so like I enjoy when I go home and I can kind of like go back into it a little bit because it does, I feel like it really connects me to where I'm from. And I really appreciate that about that. So I would say like to think about the origins, and I know like it's hard because it's not like the worst thing like for me. Like I can't like talk on like other people's like experiences with it because it's just like a southern accent. Like I can't,
Hmm.
um, but it's not something you should be self-conscious of just because it goes back so far. It has such lineage, such culture, and it connects you to your family and where you're from.
Yes, certainly. Certainly it connects you to your family, and I feel like a lot of our values kind of like align what well
Well, wait a minute.
well, I just the whenever I say that, I am talking about I feel like that small town like
Like home and community and
community for sure.
community.
And like just leaning on each other. And I
Yeah.
think that our voices are a way to represent that. Um, so yes, I'm so glad you allowed me to interview you. Thank you so much. Can you state your name and where you're from and your field of study one more time, please?
My name is Molly McClain, and I am from Kennett, Missouri, and I am wanting to go into veterinary medicine.
Yes. Alrighty, I'm gonna stop recording. Thank you so much.